Welcome to the Ambitious Coach Podcast. This is a place where driven, determined coaches learn how to get off the business growth struggle bus and learn how to build a wildly profitable online coaching business. I'm your host, Allison Henderson, corporate dropout to six-figure social media business coach. I'm going to show you how I've been able to create the business of my dreams organically, all through utilizing my social media platforms. So pull up a seat, take some notes, and get ready to see your life and bank account transform. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm recording today on my phone. I hope this sounds okay. My internet keeps crashing. I even did an interview yesterday with somebody and I'm like, oh my God, I hope this is okay. Like I literally just kept seeing at the top, like, internet is unstable. So yeah, I'm just like, you know what? I don't want to record this whole thing. And then it's just like super glitchy the whole time. So if the audio doesn't sound so, I guess, polished as usual, it is because I'm on my phone. Okay. So, yeah. All right. Well, let me just sum you up. I just want to say I'm so sorry. Last week, I didn't have an episode out. I got a few messages from y'all. So thank you for checking in on me. I wanted to have an episode last week, but I was so pooped after my DM masterclass. So if you guys didn't know, I had a masterclass. It was called Dominate the DMs. It was nearly 2 hours, and I went into significant detail about how to communicate and have conversations with your followers so that you can get them on sales calls. I did not teach anything about cold DMing because I do feel like that's a little spammy. Like we're not DMing people that don't follow you. Okay. So you're having real conversations with real people that follow you and that actually want your help. So if you're not sure what to say or not sure what to do to get your followers on sales calls, like please go grab this masterclass as soon as possible. It was seriously one of my favorite masterpieces, my business masterpieces. I was really so proud of it. It was just in my mind like a work of art. I spent so much time. I poured my heart and soul into this presentation. I know you're going to love it. It's called Dominate the DMs. It's $97. If you want to buy this, click the link in my show notes. You're not going to regret it. It was just such a good masterclass. And also, I want to give you an update too. I do have a few openings for one-on-one for this month. So if you are ready to make some money doing what you love, let's go. 4 months, me and you. And here are some things that we can work on together. So determining your ideal business model, how many clients do you want to have, how many clients you want to be working with, and what are your actual sales goals? And then we can work on things like making your sales content more compelling and attractive to your ideal clients, building out your product suite and creating offers that you love, how to grow your audience and get yourself on podcasts and, even putting yourself on a podcast tour. We can go into mapping out your sales assets, such as like your sales pages, sales posts, presentations, webinars, masterclasses, all those sort of things. I really want to build up your confidence so that selling is easy for you and you can raise your prices and just feel so good about selling your offers on social media. Also, we can go into all those little pesky limiting beliefs that are really holding you back and sabotaging your success. I want you getting to that next level self, and I want you doing that fast. So we're going to go into all of those mindset things, all those thoughts that you have and those beliefs that you have that might be stopping you from getting to that income level that you want to get to. Also, we're going to talk about building up your communication skills and your sales skills so that making sales in your business becomes more fun and just easier. Even if you believe you're not good at sales, I can quickly help you learn to love sales. And of course, I want you getting booked out with clients that you love and that are aligned with your capacity while still hitting your sales goals. The investment to work with me for 4 months is $3,800 paid in full. All right, so $3,800 paid in full. I do have payment plans, so no worries there. You can see those on my sales page and in my application. So if this interests you and you are ready to move forward, click the link in my show notes to apply to work with me. All right, so let's get started on this week's episode. Are your personal problems showing up as business problems? And how can you tell? So I've worked with hundreds of business owners over the last few years, and even as an entrepreneur myself, I know that every single facet of myself, whether I like it or not, is going to show up some way or another. All right. So whether that's a good thing, a good part of myself or a bad part of myself, like I have to look within. And a lot of my personal problems were showing up as business problems. And it wasn't until I became really aware of this that I was able to change that, right? So if you lack boundaries, or if you're a people pleaser, if you suck at communication, if you have trouble just asking for help, if you don't like spending money or you're afraid to go into debt, like all of these things are going to show up inside of your business. And those are just like, I guess, common ones that just are off the top of my head here. But as a business owner, you're going to start to see these when you start taking clients or when you start to sell and market your offers. All right. So let's start with lack of boundaries. You've probably been this way a majority of your adult life or even into your childhood. You probably let people walk all over you and you accept it. And you probably think, I only have myself to blame. And you probably bottle this all up and you don't tell anyone about it because that's just like what we do. Another way lack of boundaries can show up for you is that you probably get easily stressed out if something gets like added onto your to-do list or your calendar, especially if it's like short notice and like all of a sudden like you're just like, oh my God, I have this thing I have to do today. And you get, really easily stressed out. And you likely keep saying yes and yes and yes to everything that gets asked of you. And at the end of the day, you might resent a lot of those people or resent just certain projects that you're doing at the end of the day because yes, you're just constantly saying yes, yes, and yes, and you're tired. You're probably so tired. Another way lack of boundaries could show up for you is that you rarely do things for yourself and you go and go and go until you're extremely exhausted. And you may even get resentful of your spouse and your caregivers. If you are a people pleaser with lack of boundaries, you probably feel the need to overshare or overcommunicate because you don't want other people thinking you're slacking or doing something to make others feel bad. Your like codependency really kicks in when you're a people pleaser and you don't want others thinking negatively of you. So you go and go and go until you just get so tired and burnt out. You say yes, right, to everything. And you don't end up making time for other things in your life that are a priority, like your business. Or you just stopped having fun. Like that's a whole nother thing too. Like when was the last time you had like belly laughs or you just went out and did something really fun for yourself? Like you might, this might show up too as like you like a kind of a hermit. Like you just decided to start staying in a lot more and all that sort of stuff. And it's like, this is all going to start showing up and you're going to notice it inside of your business. So you probably see where I'm going with this, right? Like you likely identified with some of these things and sadly they show up in your business, right? So how this could look is you keep saying you don't have time for your business, but really it's a lack of boundaries and you rarely ask for help. You're afraid to upset people or be like a bad friend or bad wife or a bad mom because you want to do something for yourself. And that's the thing. You might think of this business as something that you're doing for yourself and not for your whole family or something, right? So you might have some guilt around that. I know I had to work through that of like, every day I go to work, this is what I do for a living, by the way, right? Like this is my full-time thing. Like I don't have another job. And I had to release that being like in my corporate world, like I was gone all day. I was getting home at like 6:15. Sometimes I was like out until midnight because I had like concerts and I had to like wine and dine clients and stuff. And I was like, I didn't feel much guilt then. I kind of did a little bit, but like I had to do it, right? It was just something I had to do in order to make money and to support my family. And so, like today, like I have to record a podcast episode and my husband also had to work. So my in-laws are watching my daughter, right? She's 4 years old. She doesn't have daycare today. And so there was a part of me that felt kind of guilty, but then also like, I like to now I like to reframe things, right? So my in-laws enjoy spending time with my daughter. And so when I ask them for help, I'm not putting them out. I'm not making them in any way feel bad. It's like, no, they love spending time with my children, right? And they love helping us because they love us, right? So there's like all these things. I always like try to reframe of like, I'm not putting anybody out by asking for help. They can also say no, by the way. People are allowed to say no. But now I release that guilt from myself when I want to work on my business. And by the way, like sometimes I actually need to work on my business, right? Because if I'm not making any money, right, I can't necessarily pay my bills or do the things that I want to do, right? So I have to put things in perspective sometimes. And so do not be afraid to ask for help because once again, it's going to really show up in your business. Now, also, if you're constantly saying yes to things like, yes, we'll be at that birthday party or, I'll pick up the kids from school, like, and I'll take the kids to school and I'll do this and this, like, you might be that mom too that's like, I'll bake the cupcakes and all this for that field trip and all these things, right? Like, by the way, you can still do all that. Like, I'm not going to tell you not to be that mom that's like a really good mom and to do all the things for your kids. Like, I'm not saying that, but like, if you're somebody who's constantly putting off your business and you keep saying, I don't have time for my business, like look at all the things that you are saying yes to. If you're running yourself to the ground and you keep wondering why your business isn't where you want it to be yet, maybe it is time to start saying no to a few things and just putting up those boundaries of like, this is all right now I have time for, and anything else that doesn't align with my business goals or my income goals or anything like that, like I just can't do this week or I can't do this month. All right, so get used to saying no. Another way in your business where some like lack of boundaries or some of the people pleasing, all that sort of stuff can show up is you are constantly checking your phone to see if your clients messaged you. You try to get back to them like as soon as possible because you don't want them to get mad at you, or like, heaven forbid, they ask for a refund or something, right? Because you didn't get back to them in like 5 minutes and you start freaking out. You might be working like 24/7 and you're not taking any real breaks and you're burnt out and you never shut your phone off or you never shut your brain off. And this is going to lead to you hating your business because you feel so stressed out all the time. You feel anxious every morning that when you wake up because you're like, oh my God, I have all these things to do. I got all these people to message back. So every day, guess what? You're going to have a to-do list. And yes, it's going to be long. That's a part of you being a business owner. Like you're never at the end of the day going to check everything off your to-do list. I've gotten over that. And that's just my normal now. Is like, I always have something to do. And this is what I know to be true though. Like when you get overly stressed out or overly anxious though, you likely don't do anything. You get really overwhelmed, right? And you procrastinate. And you might just like maybe do the bare minimum or not. Like, so maybe the bare minimum for you is just posting. Like, I just got to post today, or I got to get back to my, just my clients. And by the way, there's definitely going to be weeks or months like that. And that's okay. Like I'm totally somebody that's like, hey, once you're really good at what you do, you can do it really, really fast. But if you don't have an audience yet, you don't have like the income coming in that you want to have, yes, you're going to be doing some things. You're going to be working longer hours, but yeah, you're going to have a to-do list. Okay. But if you're so overwhelmed, right? Like likely you're probably just scrolling a lot on your phone. You're binging TV shows or watching a lot of movies or reading a ton of books, right? Like quote unquote, you're trying to relax when really you're not giving your brain enough time to relax. And once again, you kind of wonder why. Why isn't my business doing well? Like I feel like I'm doing all the things when it's like, but you haven't been because you've been scrolling and binging TV shows and all the things, right? So you can see how easily your personal problems are going to show up as business problems. And really, it's not your business that's the problem. It's how you're operating every day inside of your business, right? I even think back to my relationship with my husband and how we communicate and how I ask for help and how I even just take time for myself. I sometimes really blame him for not getting enough me time or like enough business time. But in reality, he's like, well, all you had to do was ask. All you had to do was ask. And you're right. A lot of times I didn't ask. I didn't ask for the help that I wanted, or I didn't ask for the me time, or I didn't tell him like, hey, I have to send this email. I never shared that with him. And I'd like to remind you that your spouse is not a mind reader, right? And a lot of resentment can be built up in your relationship, especially when you're building the relationship, when you're putting in a lot of hours and a lot of time. And when you're not communicating efficiently or just at all, it can really be stressful for you and your spouse. And that's going to show up in your business, right? And when you're really just stressed and anxious all the time, talking can just be really hard, and sharing what you need can be really hard. Having hard conversations might be the last thing that you want to do because maybe you just kind of know this is going to end up in a fight, or you just know it's going to be a bad conversation, which I totally understand. But you have to remember, your partner can't read your mind. And the sooner that you do have those hard conversations, or just like, hey, I want to communicate how I'm feeling with you, it's going to be so much easier for you. It's going to be so much easier. And then like, once again, the next day when you like show up to your business, it's not really going to be a business problem anymore, right? It's like, oh, okay, now I know that I have this amount of time to be doing my businessy things, or, I'm going to be able to take some me time over the weekend to do this one thing that I want to do because I was able to finally ask for what I wanted, asked for what I needed even, okay? Also a big one, this is something like how you and your partner handle money. How do you deal with money and your decisions around making money or just spending your money? I know my own personal money story shows up in my business so much. So my story is projected onto my audience and my future clients. So when you say things like, nobody can afford it. Nobody can, everyone thinks this is too expensive, right? Like you probably have said those things to yourself before, right? So it will show up in your business in some way or another, how you view money, how you view debt, credit cards, or just making investments in yourself or in things inside of your business, like softwares and just things that make your business easier. And of course, those things might be very scary because you've had maybe some bad experiences in the past, or you just maybe have never spent that sort of money before. And that's totally fine to have those nerves pop up when you're about ready to spend some cash. But you can't bring your past baggage into your business, realistically. Obviously, if you've never been a business owner before, like this is scary. Like you spending money on a coach, or you spending money on your website, you spending money on like a CRM system, whatever it is that you need, or just like ads and all those things. Like there's a lot of different expenses that pop up. And if you want to receive money though, you can't be hating on money or feeling like, I'm afraid to spend all this. And I know some people too think like money is like the root of all evil, right? Money just makes you more of who you want to be. Money just makes you more of who you actually are, okay? I do feel like I'm a little all over the place with this, but I know a lot of you might feel like you're not going to get your return on your investment when you invest in a lot of this stuff, okay? But you're a business owner. Expenses and money will be spent all the time. It is just so normal to invest in yourself and pay for things, okay? I even think like when people open restaurants or clothing stores or anything like that, like there's so many expenses up front. And sometimes they don't make a lot of that money back for like months or years. I think there is a statistic, if I can say the word right, statistic that like most new businesses don't make profit within the first year. And I thought that was crazy. But in the coaching industry, in the coaching world, we have very low expenses, which is great. So you likely will make a lot of your money back in that first year. But like people like, restaurant owners or clothing store owners, those sort of people, like they don't wait in order to invest in themselves. They take chances on themselves because they know that this is what they love and this is what they want to do every day. They do see it as an investment. And I know for a fact you yourself, like your business is personal to you because it's a personal business, right? So what will your business allow you to do every day? And I always think back to that, like some days when I'm like, oh, I didn't hit my revenue goals this month or something didn't close and all these things like, and I just go, but you know what has my business already allowed me to do this month? Like I know for a fact when I left my corporate job a few years ago, all I wanted was to be at home with my daughter, to be able to work out and to do things in the afternoon whenever I felt like it. I wanted to be on my own schedule. I wanted to just have flexible hours. I wanted to be able to go to all the school functions and do all those fun things. I wanted to be able to have lunch with my husband every day. I didn't want to work Monday through Friday. I wanted to have like a Monday off or a Friday off or whatever. I didn't want to be constantly glued to a desk either. I wanted to be able to travel and work wherever I wanted, whenever I wanted, right? I have been allowed to do all those things. So my point in all of this is don't worry so much about the ROI right now. You will have expenses. You will have things that you need to invest in order to make the money that you want to make. Okay. And the sad truth about money is you're always going to want more of it. Sadly, I'm going to be honest too. Like I'm always investing myself. I'm always wanting to put more money inside of my business. And a lot of it's me, my brain, my knowledge. I always want to be learning more. So no matter how much money you make or brought in month after month, you're gonna want more of it and you're also gonna want to invest more of it, okay? You could have thousands in your bank account right now and still be like, my business isn't making enough money. I hear that all the time. When in reality, that's just not true a lot of the times. But if you're really new to business, I can understand that if you haven't really made a lot of money. But there's some business owners where I'm like, girl, you made a ton of money this month. And she's like, yeah, I did. I'm like, you have money. Like your business is doing fine. Like this isn't actually a business problem. It's a personal problem. You want more money. You want more money and you weren't satisfied with the amount of money that you made this month. And even though it was really high and you hit your money goals, you're always going to want more. It's never going to be enough. Okay. So your business isn't the problem, right? It's you. No offense, but sometimes you just need to chill out. All right. More clients will be coming. You likely don't have a business problem. You have a personal problem of like, I want millions and I don't have the millions yet. which is just a mindset problem, right? You feel me, babe? I know we all want the millions. All right, so here are some suggestions for you though, so you don't end up hating your business or thinking that there's actually something wrong with your business every single day. Start being aware. Be aware of your actions and your thoughts. Ask yourself, why do I feel this way? Why does this keep coming up for me? So for example, I feel like I never have time for my business. I have a kid and a job and it's just really hard for me. So I want you having business hours, like set days, set hours during the week, okay? There should be no, when am I going to work in my business? You need to have specific days and times. So what times do you work on your business? Get organized with your schedule and also communicate with your caregivers, your partner, whoever that is, and make time, okay? Put those times in your calendar. Put that in your spouse's calendar. Make sure that you guys are both on the same page, all right? And if your business was a top priority, which I know it is for you, you got to start treating it like a real business. You can't just show up when you feel like it or just when you have some free time, okay? It's an everyday effort, okay? And if you are a people pleaser and you do lack boundaries, okay, and you're constantly just checking your phone and just making sure you don't have unhappy clients or anything like that, I do suggest that you tell your clients before you even get started in your coaching container. So like in that welcome email, okay, you're going to tell them that you only have certain days or certain times or whatever that you check your phone for messaging. So I do Voxer with my clients, okay, you might have some sort of messaging app that you use. Turn off all notifications, okay, but you're going to tell them, hey, these are my working hours, and after those working hours, I will not reply back to you. Or also, whatever the word is, I'll get back to you within 24 to 48 hours. Okay. You're allowed to tell them that. You're not supposed to be working 24 hours a day for somebody. They're not paying you enough money for that. Okay. So please turn off your notifications. Like I said earlier, I don't want you having those ding dings and buzzes or whatever all day, all night. Like I forget what, there's like studies done where like your cortisol really spikes every time we hear a buzz or a ding. And over like the course of the day, if you're constantly like getting all these cortisol spikes or whatever, like our dopamine like gets all screwed up. So turn off notifications, okay? There's no reason that you need to be up your client's butt all day in order to make them happy, okay? And the honest truth is too, when you're like booked out, so if booked out for you is like, 5 clients or 10 clients or whatever at a time, you're going to get so burned out if you're constantly checking your phone or trying to get back to people all day long. So set some boundaries with your clients, okay? It's really important that they know these are your working hours and what to expect out of your coaching container, okay? So I do want you to start asking yourself, do I really have a business problem or do I have a personal problem that is now showing up as a business problem? All right, so I feel like I was a little all over the place today, but I hope you got my point here is really take a good look at everything, okay? Be hyper aware of your day-to-day life. All right. Like audit your day sometimes. Like what are you spending your time doing? What are you saying yes to that you don't want to be saying yes to? Like really look at your calendar. And if you're like, okay, I really want to make more time for my business, like where can you fit this in? Okay. If you have mornings, afternoons, I don't know, whatever, like when are you going to make time for your business? And then also too, like really think like, okay, I might be people pleasing a lot inside my relationship or, to people that are, organizations that you're a part of, associations or your work. There's so many things that we do day after day that we really don't want to be doing anymore. Like I really had to like take a good look at things I was saying yes to, even just like, when friends ask me to go do things like, oh, you want to go up to Chicago to do this thing? And I'm like, yeah, sure. And then I'm like, no, that's like a whole day. And like, I don't have time for that sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, but there's some days where I'm like, yes, let's do this. It's so fun. Like, I really do want you having fun inside of your business. I don't want you working 24 hours a day. Like, yeah, that's where like, it is a total recipe for burnout and a disaster. And you're going to like hate being a business owner. Like, and at the end of the day, like if you're not having fun, and you're not doing what you love, and it all just is like, I just hate this, then really sit with yourself and go, what do I need to change? Because I can't keep operating like this, nor does everybody around me want a person or a mom that's, kind of like mom ragey all the time, right? Like, so just something to start thinking about is, how can you incorporate more fun? How can you just be more aware of the things that you just don't want to be doing anymore? Or like things that like, I should be doing more of this because it actually brings me a lot of joy and it makes me relax. So anyway, I've been talking a lot. Once again, I feel like this episode was a lot of me just rambling on and on, but I hope you got my point. And I love you. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you again next week. Bye, everyone. Thank you for listening to the Ambitious Coach podcast today. A couple favors before you go. If you found this episode helpful, please take a screenshot and share it on Instagram. Most importantly, don't forget to tag me at AllisonHenderson_coach. That's ALLISON Henderson_coach. And lastly, please take a minute to rate this episode and leave a raving review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you tune in to listen. Okay, ambition is great, but it's time to get to work. Take action and commit to being 1% better every day. Once again, thank you for tuning in, and I will see you again next week.